Alright, so today we're going to talk about how to get the pin out of these couplers. This particular one came in, and as you can see, it's really stuck. It has these aftermarket bushings, they make this very tight. I don't really like these because of that fact. This person who put this in drove this pin in and mushroomed it a little bit. So I'm going to show you how to take these out real simple. Like, you could put this in a vise like this. It won't hurt it. These are not threads. These are a spline. It just grabs on your shaft inside your tunnel there. I actually have a block with a hole drilled in it because, well, I do a lot of these. Let's see. I'm going to do it this way because, well, I'll do it this way so you can see. So I'm going to put this in here. This goes in here like so. I have a drift like this, and hopefully a hammer around here somewhere. All you need to do is set this on that pin like so, and drive this out like such. Again, this is pretty tight, so it doesn't even want to come out. And that's it. Next step, I'll show you how to take those little guys out, put in the new ones. Alright, so step 2 of this here, we're going to take these bushings out of this coupling. And earlier I showed you how to drive out that pin, and the reason that we don't hammer hold on to the coupling is because this is just pot metal. And if you hang on to this and start driving those bushings, especially if these are deteriorated with stock ones, you'll break this coupling, or the housing. It's just not that strong. By holding on to the steel shaft, which is actually where the pin is pressed in, you have a much better chance of driving that pin out, especially the really stuck ones. So I have a board with a plate with a couple holes in it. This fits really nice. It just happened to be laying around. You don't need this for this operation. It just works good. And I'm using a 5/8 inch deep socket. And usually, if these are easy, you just pop them out like that. And I just flip it over and hit the other one. That's all we do to get rid of the old bushings. Next thing we'll have to do is do some cleanup on this, and I'll show you how that pin looked that was all mushroomed, and we'll explain how that needs to fit before we put it all back together, because we're going to have to fix that one. Well, that was really awesome. I took a picture instead of a video last time. Anyhow, so I've taken these parts to the sink. I've cleaned them with some Dawn dishwashing soap. I've checked the inside here for any ridges or anything. Sometimes these get damaged. A little sandpaper and just scuff off anything. I'm using some 320. You could use 80 grit. It wouldn't matter. You couldn't possibly sand on that long enough to change the diameter of that bore. It takes a long time. Take your bushings and make sure that they go in smoothly. You don't have to push them in too far because they are kind of hard to get back out, but just make sure that they go in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put these in, and as it starts, notice that there's a gap on both sides here. Try and make that moderately equal distance. It doesn't have to be perfect, just sort of close. This is why I like this fixture, because I can pop these home. Make sure that there's no gap at all right here. Take your second one, put it in. This is a bit of a finesse job because, well, it's a slip fit. So a little wiggle jiggle, and she starts to go home. Oftentimes I'll take a wrench and just pop it home like so that gap is completely gone. Pretty simple. Next step is to make sure that this goes in with no binding. We don't want any binding there. It should be fairly snug in all directions, actually, because these are made very precision. Next step, I'll show you how to put that pin back in. But first, we're going to fix the pin because it's damaged. Okay, I think we're recording. So back to this pin. So I have my coupler with the coupler housing with the bushings installed. I'm going to take the pin and make sure that the pin rotates smoothly in the holes. As I said, this one's damaged, and as you can see, it won't even go in there. You can clearly see somebody put a big mushroom in the end here from whacking it with a hammer incorrectly. So all you really have to do, you could take a file and just knock this off. It'll come off pretty easy. These aren't super hard. I happen to have a crappy little lathe here. This is not where your parts were made, by the way. I make them on a much nicer lathe. But this one will work for this. I'm going to turn this on slow. Just hit that edge real quick. And that's a lot faster than doing it with a file, but then again, I do not have a lathe at home. Just check that that fits in smoothly. Still have a spot. This one's pretty hacked on. I'll hit it one more time real quick. That's about all it takes. And just to make sure that it's smooth and rotates in there, both sides. Good. Now we'll put it in. Last step, and we're home free. Back to the block, stick this piece in. We know this fits nice and smooth. We know this fits nice and smooth. All I have to do is find that hole. And as you can see, it goes a certain distance and then stops. That's because the center of this pin is what drives in here. I'm going to drive this in with the hammer to begin with. And I like to make it equal, so I go back to my drift, if I find it. And I may not be able to find it because, well, that's the way I am. Anyway, you can just hit this with the drift a little bit to get this center. As you can see, much better, no slop in any direction. This is what it should be like. Now you're ready to put it back in the car. Cheers, guys. Okay, I said I was going to put this in the rest of the way, and I'm going to, it's just slightly off center. I like to put them right on center. Oops. Helps if you're not shaking. I'm old, so I shake. If it does bind up after putting the pin in, try pushing this side to side. And sometimes the bushings, if the pin is too fat in the center, it will push one of the bushings off and you'll get a little gap here. So separate the bushings again. We know they should fit once because we did a fit up once it's all together. So kind of like a U-joint, sometimes you give them a small tap here, give her a little wiggle. She should move like that. And again, no slop.